It was the first time I put a video out and people were like, whoa, 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 what is this? Hey everybody, I'm Jake McGee. I'm the founder of His Grace Productions, and today I want to talk to you about how to use storytelling to create viral videos. I'd say from a video perspective, right? From my perspective, when I go to create something and I want it to be as powerful and impactful as possible, there are a lot of things that you have to pay attention to. We look at it like a jigsaw puzzle, right? So there's a ton of different pieces that fit into this puzzle. And if one of those pieces is off or you're missing one, you get the picture, but you don't see the full thing, right? There's your mind can piece it together of what the point of the whole puzzle picture is supposed to be, but there's still that piece of you like, this is kind of a sucky puzzle because I'm missing some pieces here. And video is the exact same way. But the thing is, when you watch a video, sometimes you don't really know why it's bad, right? You watch it and you're like, I don't like this. And you may say, it's the story or it's the sound or it's this or that or what. You may not even know, or you may even diagnose it incorrectly. But the point is, there's something that creator did in that video where they didn't give the attention to the detail of that one puzzle piece. And now you feel like that gap. I think a prime example is you look at a video and what it comprises it. So you've got obviously your visual images. So what makes up the visual? All right, colors. So the color space, how something is graded. What colors make you feel what emotions? Now there's lighting. Okay, you can just pop on the lights wherever you are, bright, use something extremely bright and blow yourself out. That's not interesting. It takes dynamic range for images, right? When I talk about dynamic range, I'm looking at, is there something that's really dark in this image, but also is there something that's really well exposed in this image? And same thing with music, right? Tonality, things like, is it just one note? Am I just hitting one note over and over and over again? That's not interesting to me. And while we're on that topic, the same thing is true of story, right? Stories can tell one note. They can hit one note over and over and over again. You want a story, right, to take you from a high to a low. I want to feel the darks. I want to feel the highs. I want to feel those light moments. A whole litany of other things. Sound. I'm using my computer's microphone. It doesn't sound that great. All of these details are what make up a really good video. You got to take a step back and look at the whole picture. If your goal is to engage with this market, this demographic, these people, then we need to pay attention to this type of storyline, this type of color palette, this type of, protagonist, and this type of pain points that they're going after. Lock all those in. Now we have the formula for something that has a potential to be extremely viral. So to follow on with all these different puzzle pieces and how they fit together and what's important when it comes to making viral content, sticky content, one of the main things you have to pay attention to is emotion. Like, what emotions are you using in your video to drive these decisions? And for example, we worked with a cyber company to make a video for them that was going to be high emotion. When you think of cybersecurity, most of the time, not a lot of emotions kind of pop to the front of your brain necessarily, unless you're in the industry, right? So we had to kind of dive into that story and figure out, okay, like what's really going on here. And so the story isn't necessarily like, if I'm going to go make a video about cybersecurity, okay, I'm not necessarily going out there and saying like, hey, this company is the most secure. They're the smartest guys. They're the best guys. They're the quickest guys. All blah, 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 blah. Like, anybody can do that, right? And say that they're the best. But we're going to disengage with it really quick. And the reason is most of us aren't cybersecurity professionals. We don't know that jargon. We don't care, right? And actually, if we never heard the word cybersecurity again, we'd probably be happy people. But what happens here is, instead of looking at that what's on the surface of that story, right? We look at what the pain points are of the people that they're serving. Well, the people that they're serving are these massive businesses. They have a bunch of people's information that's at risk if they don't take care of it correctly, and then they could go to jail. They could lose their whole company in lawsuits because they had some sort of vulnerability they weren't aware of, right? Or they weren't able to stop an attack as it was going on quick enough, right? So you get to know all these pain points of the people that they're trying to serve. Then you tell that story. That's where we start our character. That's the place where they're stuck. Insert my cybersecurity company. Hey, I know, like, these are the things that are the problems. This character is engaging in all of this fear. And then they meet our cybersecurity expert. And he lays out the plan. And he fixes everything. And now not only is this company secure, right? We move into Act 3, where this business who engaged with a cybersecurity company, now this business is thriving. They don't think about this anymore because it's totally taken care of. And they actually have one of the most secure networks in the world, blah, blah, blah. And, they're beyond their wildest dreams of doing, being able to focus on their business and do the things that is actually making them money. When you pay attention to the end goal and you back the emotion out, the emotion is what drives the story. What do they feel? What are the problems? What are the pain points? How does your company fix those pain points? And then instead of your company being the hero, right? The one that we're like, look how great this company is. They saved the day. No, it's actually back to the company. The person with the cybersecurity problems. They're the heroes. They're the winners of their own fate, right? They're the ones that end up at the pinnacle of where they want to be. And if you get this right, this will carry the rest of the production. If I can't engage with the character I see in front of me, this is done before it ever started. But if you can, that's when you see the comments. That's when you see the people reaching out. The first time I really saw a lot of engagement on anything I created was a spec video I did for Spotify. I had made a bunch of stuff before, right? A lot of content, a lot of, and I worked really hard on it. But just, you put it out there, right? And your mom gives you a like, right? Or some family member has that's so cute, look at what you're doing. And I was just sick of that. I was sick of putting stuff out there and not getting, just landing nowhere. And so we did a spec commercial, which is basically you reach out to a company and you basically let them know, like, hey, I really respect your brand. I would love to create something for your brand on my own dime. And I just, I will have full creative freedom to do this, but I'm making it, for your brand. If you use it, great. If you don't, no problem. But here it is. It was the first time I put a video out and people were like, whoa. What is this? And it's like, comment. This is cool. Comment. What is this? Boom, 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 boom. And I'd never seen that before. Really what happened was the first time I took the time to craft a story that was directly in line with a brand, and I had complete creative freedom. We took this video, and basically I had 3 different demographics that I wanted to target within Spotify that, from the brand research that I had done. And so I took 3 different people, 3 different demographics, and I linked the stories. I wove them together. And the idea was, and how Spotify was like the helper, not the focus, but the helper in the story was all these different people in this video had these secret passions, these, like, I want to be like a star basketball player. I want to be a dancer, or I want to be, whatever, like a next great boxer, all these different things. Right. And so when these people have their day jobs and the stuff that they're just going through, but when they have the time to focus on what they want to do, Spotify goes on, and then their track, their theme for their life, right, that motivates them starts to play. and then they get into their element, and then they start to become and work on the person they want to become for their future. We got to basically touch a lot of like 3 different types of people and demographics and things that people could relate to, and tie it to Spotify. And like when I say that we paid attention to all these puzzle pieces, we created a custom musical score. Crafting this score, I wanted the music to match each person and what they were going through, and each of these people were very different, and so that was a challenge in itself. But paying attention to that detail brought something extra out of the story, even if, and I promise you would not know. If you watch this and you didn't hear me say any of this stuff, you'd be like, oh, this is cool. This is neat. Yeah. You have no idea why I put that detail in there. You wouldn't even have been able to pick it out unless you were looking. And that is what engagement is all about. It's those little things. It's that dynamic range that we were talking about. Gosh, there's some really like deep darks in here, and there's some really high highs, on all the spectrums, from emotion to color to lighting to music. Like when you pay attention to all those things, they really come together. And this is the first project I was able to do that on. And it was the first project that, skyrocketed my engagement. That was the formula. That's the secret sauce. I'm not hiding it from you, right? It's just a lot of stinking work. So anybody can do it. It's just, you got to do the work on all the levels, right? To make it that awesome. We talked through what makes video engaging or sticky or viral in that kind of sense. And yes, there is a whole nother facet of viral that is just something weird happened, right? And it's super entertaining and people catch on to it. But again, what is your goal? Look at the people who've gone viral in these different scenarios, and start backing out like how much they've actually made off these things, off those one videos. What it does is, right, it gets a bunch of eyeballs on you, right? That's the point. That's what you want. You want all the eyeballs. But you and I both know not all of those eyeballs, or even 50%, 75% of those eyeballs, have anything to do with your market. And if they're not in your market and they're never going to give you money anyway, why do you care? Right? It's not just about getting a like or getting a comment or getting any of that stuff. What it's about is providing value. You provide enough value, right, with what you're doing, with what you're selling, with what you're trying to help people with, then now you have the platform to continue to serve people. And that's the point. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you found this content was useful, valuable. If there's anything else you want to learn about, feel free to comment below. Let us know what you're interested in, or if you can even relate to some of these things that I've been describing. Also, we have a link to the blog post below that is going to be attached to this video. So if you want a little bit more detail, a little bit more focus on what we're talking about, you can always go read about it right there. If you've enjoyed this few video series we've got going on here, we've got another one coming out that is going to be about the science of video and how it's going to hook and holds people and how it converts audiences. So if you're ready for that, give us a like and a subscribe, and then we will get that out to you here shortly.